Tathaiva chanye naraloka vira ya ahave Krishna mukharavindam Netrai pibanto nayana biramam Parthastra puta padamapurasya Certainly others who were fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were purified by the onslaught of Arjuna's arrows. And while seeing the lotus-like face of Krishna, so pleasing to the eyes, they achieved the abode of the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, appears in this world for two missionary purposes: to deliver the faithful and to annihilate the miscreants. But because the Lord is absolute, His two different kinds of actions, although apparently different, are ultimately one and the same. His annihilation of a person like Shishupal is as auspicious as his actions for the protection of the faithful. All the warriors who fought against Arjuna, but who were able to see the lotus-like face of the Lord on the battlefront, achieved the abode of the Lord, exactly as the devotees of the Lord do. The words, pleasing to the eyes of the seer, are very significant. When the warriors from the other side of the battlefield saw Lord Krishna at the front, they appreciated his beauty, and their dormant instinct of love of God was awakened. Shishupal saw the Lord also, but he saw him as an enemy, and his love was not awakened. Therefore, Shishupal achieved oneness with the Lord by merging in the impersonal glare of his body, called the Brahmajyoti. Others who were in the marginal position, being neither friends nor enemies, but slightly in love of Godhead by appreciating the beauty of his face, were at once promoted to the spiritual planets, the Vaikunthas. The Lord's personal abode is called Goloka Vrindavan, and the abodes where his plenary expansions reside are called the Vaikunthas, where the Lord is present as Narayan. Love of Godhead is dormant in every living entity, and the entire process of devotional service unto the Lord is meant for awakening this dormant, eternal love of Godhead. But there are degrees of such transcendental awakening. Those whose love of God is awakened to the fullest extent go back to Goloka Vrindavan, planet in the spiritual sky, whereas persons who have just awakened to love of Godhead by accident or association are transferred to the Vaikuntha planets. Essentially, there is no material difference between Goloka and Vaikuntha. But in the Vaikuntha, the Lord is served in unlimited opulence. whereas in Goloka, the Lord is served in natural affection. This love of God is awakened by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Here the word partastraputa is significant. Those who saw the beautiful face of the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were purified first by Arjuna when he made his onslaught with arrows. The Lord appeared for the mission of diminishing the burden of the world, and Arjuna was assisting the Lord by fighting on his behalf. Arjuna personally declined to fight, and the whole instruction of the Bhagavad Gita was given to Arjuna to engage him in the fight. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna agreed to fight in preference to his own decision. And thus Arjuna fought to assist the Lord in his mission of diminishing the burden of the world. All activities of a pure devotee are executed on behalf of the Lord, because a pure devotee of the Lord has nothing to do for his personal interest. Arjuna's killing was as good as killing by the Lord himself. As soon as Arjuna shot an arrow at an enemy, that enemy became purified of all material contaminations and became eligible to be transferred to the spiritual sky. Those warriors who appreciated the lotus feet of the Lord and saw his face at the front those warriors who appreciated the lotus feet of the Lord and saw his face at the front had their dormant love of God awakened. And thus they were transferred at once to Vaikuntha Loka, not to the impersonal state of Brahmajyoti, as was Shishupal. Shishupal died without appreciating the Lord, while others died with appreciation of the Lord. Both were transferred to the spiritual sky, but those who awakened to love of God were transferred to the planets of the spiritual sky. Uddhava seemingly lamented that his own position was less than that of the warriors on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, because they had attained to Vaikuntha, whereas he remained to lament the disappearance of the Lord. Welcome to Radha Gopinath Temple. I am very grateful to each of you for coming this morning. It's my great honor to have this opportunity to try to serve you by sharing this limitless gift of knowledge and grace that Srila Prabhupada has given all of us. We are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Text 20. In this chapter, we find Vidura, who has been so cruelly banished from his home, by the envy and the greed, the arrogance of Duryodhana. Vidura's only fault was he was honestly trying to be a well-wisher to his brother, Dhritarashtra, and actually a well-wisher to all living beings, including Duryodhana. Vidura was non-envious. Because he's non-envious, he's a well-wisher of everyone. Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, Suhridam Sarva Bhutana, that he's well-wishing toward every living being. And those who know Krishna and love Krishna, they are naturally doing everything, actions, words, thoughts, as a service for Krishna's pleasure. So therefore, the character of a true devotee is to be a well-wisher of all living beings. And Vidura was tested year after year throughout his life. He was well-wisher of the Pandavas by actually taking great risk to protect them secretly, as well as he was trying to do it very overtly as well, depending on the circumstance. And he was a well-wisher of Dhritarashtra, who was materially and spiritually blind due to the association of his own son. Vidura declared Duryodhana to be offense personified. Duryodhana had such wealth, had such power, but he couldn't tolerate anybody having equal or more than him. He was willing to go against Krishna. He was willing to murder his own cousin brothers. And Yudhisthira was always his well-wisher. Vidura was trying to save the Kuru dynasty. And for doing so, simply by giving loving guidance, he was cruelly banished and terribly insulted. Still, he didn't retaliate. Rather, he took it as Krishna's arrangement that he could go on a pilgrimage. And for many years, alone he wandered to the various holy places to associate with holy people in constant remembrance of the Lord. And here he is meeting with Uddhava. As we have read in the previous chapters, Uddhava was with Krishna. This is happening, this is the third canto, but we're reading about what happens after the 11th canto. The Uddhava Gita, before leaving this world, Krishna spoke the most profound, deepest knowledge to Uddhava and entrusted with him with this knowledge. And then Krishna, as well as the Yadu dynasty, they departed from the world. And how much Uddhava wanted to go with him. He was Krishna's constant companion. Krishna left Vrindavan when he was only according to Uddhava in this chapter, Krishna was only 11 years old and went to Mathura. And from that time, Uddhava was Krishna's closest associate and friend. That means he was with Krishna almost continuously for 115 years. He was feeling Krishna's love, and he was feeling not only his love for Krishna. When he was still a young man living in Mathura, Krishna sent him to Vrindavan with a message. But internally, Krishna bestowed such special affection to Uddhava that he could witness and be transformed by the love of the residents of Vrindavan. And he was personal witness and participant in experiencing the love of gopis and of Srimati Radharani when she was in her deepest states of love and separation. This is Uddhava. Now he's wandering. Before Krishna left this world, he was given the order, Uddhava, to go to Badrikashram. He's on his pilgrimage to Badrinath. And by the arrangement of the Lord, he meets Vidura. How they met. To be in the exact same place at the same time. It's not like they were texting each other. What is your ETA? What is your estimated time of arrival? We like to think this is very advanced, that we have this technology and we can orchestrate and coordinate our meetings and arrivals. But this magic of being completely dependent on Krishna, in complete surrender to Krishna, and let Krishna arrange and orchestrate. So they have met. And Vidura is inquiring from Uddhava all about Krishna and his family. And actually, he had already heard about what had happened in Krishna's disappearance. But psychologically, he really couldn't accommodate it. So he's asking the questions as if he didn't know. And Uddhava, after hearing about the questions regarding Krishna and his associates, Uddhava entered into a deep state of pure devotional samadhi. In fact, it is stated his consciousness entered the spiritual world. And after some time, he came back to this world and spoke. This chapter is entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Uddhava is remembering Krishna being the supreme, absolute truth. the creator, the maintainer, the annihilator of all spiritual and material worlds. The Lord who is the origin of all expansions and incarnations of Godhead with all their powers and opulences. And in this particular verse, Krishna is taking the role of the chariot driver of Arjuna, Parthasarathi. And we know from Bhagavad Gita, when it was time for the battle of Kurukshetra to begin, Arjuna instructed Krishna to take his chariot between the armies. When Arjuna saw his most honored and loving friends, family members, well-wishers on both sides, he was heartbroken and bewildered and told Krishna, I will not fight. In that state, when he was hopeless, Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. In this beautiful translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, we are given the insight of the internal potency of the Lord manifesting even in this ghastly battle. Arjuna was well-wisher of Bhisma. And in those days, such battles, you're either killed or you kill. There was no in between. He would either be killed by Bhisma or kill Bhisma. What to speak of Dronacharya, his own beloved teacher, and so many others. Krishna being the well-wisher of everyone, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita to induce Arjuna to fight the battle. And here we find Krishna fulfilled Arjuna's innermost desire. He was the well-wisher of his enemies. And because Arjuna was a well-wisher of his enemy, and because he surrendered to Krishna, Krishna gave his enemies, as well as all the people who were on his side, both the Pandavas and the Kurus, they all attained Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, beyond liberation. Because Arjuna was fighting with pure love for Krishna, in a spirit of surrender. Everyone who was shot and pierced by the arrows of Arjuna was purified. This is described here. Srila Prabhupada describes, and he's speaking from all the great acharyas' realizations and what is spoken in Srimad Bhagavatam. The people were purified by the onslaught of arrows by Arjuna. So Arjuna purified them. And because Krishna is so merciful, as they were being purified, everyone in Kurukshetra who died, which is practically everyone, Krishna allowed them to have his darshan. And Krishna manifested his extraordinary, sweet beauty. Krishna means all attractive. Krishna manifested his beauty before them. And just before they died, they naturally felt affection. Srila Prabhupada is describing, by seeing the beauty of Krishna, by feeling the mercy of Krishna at those last moments, their dormant love for Krishna was awakened. And they went to the spiritual world. It's interesting because in the verse before, yesterday's verse, Krishna kills Shishupal himself with his own chakra. And Shishupal's looking at Krishna. But he entered into the Brahmajyoti, the impersonal glare of the Lord's body. He did not attain love of God. He attained liberation. Now Krishna personally killed him. But in Kurukshetra, Arjuna and others were killing. In fact, it's so fascinating. When Duryodhana and Arjuna were given the choice by Krishna, you could have either me, but I will not fight. I will not raise a weapon. Or you could have my armies. Duryodhana wanted the armies. And Arjuna wanted Krishna. So Krishna promised, I will not fight. But yet, when he fought with Shishupal, he was given Brahman realization. But when he didn't fight at all, and his devotees were fighting on his behalf, he gave them pure love of Krishna, pure love of God, eternal loving service in Vaikuntha. When Bhisma, who was Arjuna's loving grandfather, when he was angered and incited by Duryodhana, Bhisma was literally annihilating the Pandavas' army. And Krishna told Arjuna, we must go and at night secretly and ask Bhisma how we could kill him. Can you imagine the heartbreak of Arjuna? Can you imagine asking your grandfather, how can I kill you? But in Krishna's service, they did. But yet, the ultimate crescendo of the perfection of all Bhishma's desires was attained. He fought Arjuna on the battlefield so ferociously that Arjuna was about to be defeated by him. And at that moment, the only way to save Arjuna, Krishna had to break his own promise. And he jumped off the chariot and lifted up a chariot wheel and charged with great anger toward Bhishma. And Bhishma that was the highlight of his whole life. He was actually shooting arrows at Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's bhavagrahi. He accepts the devotion. He accepts the intent of an offering. Because Bhishma understood Krishna's heart in such a special way, according to his own nature, we would not find the cowherd boys or the gopis shooting arrows at Krishna. But Bhishma, Krishna was reciprocating with his own nature of love. We cannot imitate. We offer flowers to Radha Gopinath. We can't, well, Bhishma shot arrows. So. But this was the exalted love of Bhishma. He was truly a Kshatriya. So he was offering these arrows with love and devotion and gratitude. And even though they were piercing Krishna's body, Krishna was feeling each arrow like a flower petal. It was like a Pushyabhishek. It was like a flower festival in the Kurukshetra battle. And to make Bhishma even more happy, Krishna was not smiling. He wasn't laughing, thinking, oh, your arrows are like flower petals. His eyes were red with anger, charging at Bhishma to punish him. Because that's what reciprocated most perfectly with Bhishma's loving offerings. And when Bhishma saw Krishna in this style, in this merciful state of coming to annihilate him, Bhishma was in ecstasy. And when Krishna saw that, Krishna realized that he has been defeated by Bhishma. And Bhishma wanted to show the whole world that Krishna is willing to break his own promise to preserve the promise of his loving devotee Arjuna. And this was the internal happiness of Bhishma. He's such a wonderful part of Krishna's mission to attract the world. He loves his devotees so much that he's willing to break his own promise to preserve the promise of his devotee. Kauntiya pratijini me bhakta pranash. Now Bhishma Everyone else in the battlefield, they died and went back to Vaikuntha. Because Krishna is so unlimited in his mercy. There was countless warriors in that battlefield. Miles and miles and miles of people fighting. And yet wherever anyone died, they could see, even from a long distance, they could see Krishna's beautiful, all attractive lotus face. And it wasn't just like, in a stadium where everyone's looking at somebody on stage. Krishna is personally reciprocating with every one of them. And they were attracted, because Krishna's all attractive. And therefore, even if they were the enemies of the Pandavas, they felt affection for Krishna. And they left their bodies in that affection. That is Krishna's mercy. And we can understand it from a perspective, that is Krishna's mercy to Arjuna. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives. But paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. It had to be done for the sake of the world, for the well-being of the world and dharma. Krishna was sent by Yudhisthira Maharaj with a proposal for peace to Duryodhana. You take the whole world. Give the Pandavas 5 villages. Duryodhana would not give them anything. He was so greedy, so arrogant, so totally insecure. But most of all, so envious. He could not tolerate them having anything. Now Bhisma, he didn't die during the battle. He just laid there, waiting for Krishna to return. Everybody else went to Vaikuntha in the meanwhile. Because Arjuna was a well-wisher for his relatives, Krishna gave them the highest blessing to go back home, back to God. What is internal and what is external? In this wonderful pastime where we're discussing Bhisma, we're discussing warriors on both sides fighting. There were people totally loyal to Duryodhana who went back to Vaikuntha. They were purified by the arrows of Arjuna. Why were they purified? Because Arjuna was only shooting them in a mood of surrender and service to Krishna. Krishna preserves what we have and carries what we lack. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada would describe agyata sukriti, where even unintentionally we begin our devotional service by somehow or other making a connection with Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada describes agyata sukriti as knowingly or unknowingly if a person appreciates anything connected with Krishna and devotional service. If someone hears the holy name and they somehow or other appreciate that, their devotional life begins. If someone appreciates prasad, if someone appreciates a devotee, that appreciation is an expression of affection. So Krishna manifested in such a beautiful form on the battlefield. And anybody at any moment throughout the day when they were being killed, they'd see Krishna and become purified. And what an incredible benediction that is to Arjuna, who actually didn't want to fight because he didn't want to hurt them. So his fighting actually gave them the highest pleasure for eternity by Krishna's arrangement. Bhaktram pushpam palam toya. When we offer a flower, a leaf, a fruit, or some water to Krishna with devotion, it's not the flower, it's the devotion. Now, the material world is Krishna's external energy. So a flower is made out of earth, water, fire, air, and ether combinations. And Krishna has no attraction for anything in this material world. He's Atmarama. He's completely self-sufficient in his ecstatic existence. In the spiritual world, he's forever having pastimes with his purest, most intimate devotees. Why he comes to this world? Simply to show mercy. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu. Uddhava is giving us a glimpse into his appreciation of Krishna's karuna, his compassion. He's coming to this world. And given such liberation in the most astonishing way, by revealing his beautiful smiling face to the warriors dying in Kurukshetra. So Krishna has no attraction to a material flower. Maybe a lotus flower, maybe a rose, maybe a marigold, maybe just a leaf from a weed. But if it's offered with devotion, Krishna accepts it. So when you offer that leaf or flower, is it Krishna's internal or external energy? If we offer, whether it's a marigold or a lotus, if we offer it with a desire for prestige, with a desire for selfish fulfillment, then Krishna does not accept. He only accepts love. He only accepts devotion. And in the story of Vidura, we find that very famous pastime Duryodhana arranged a wonderful feast with the most precious, opulent gifts because he wanted to get Krishna to be on his side for his own purpose. And Krishna just walked by, wouldn't accept, wouldn't even look at it. And he went to Vidura's house. And according to some versions of the story, Vidura's wife was home. And Krishna comes, unannounced. She had to offer Krishna something. So there was just a banana in their house. She was so nervous, she peeled a banana and gave Krishna the peel. And Krishna enjoyed it. More than all the incredible, opulent preparations at the feast of Duryodhana's house. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Krishna only accepts love, devotion. And the value of anything from Krishna's perspective is how much we're trying to please Krishna. And as we actually make real spiritual progress on the path of bhakti, that's the way a devotee evaluates the value of anything. Not by the material power, but by how it pleases Krishna. In Srirangam, that one Brahmin was not speaking Bhagavad Gita correctly. And all the pundits were speaking Upanishads and Gita and Vedas very perfectly. But this Brahmin was illiterate, but he was just trying to please his guru by reciting every day. And it's very interesting. The story is like the same what we're reading in today's verse in a different context. They were fighting, but yet Krishna was so merciful in Kurukshetra. He was bestowing his beautiful form for them to see. So Lord Chaitanya asked the Brahmin in Srirangam, please tell me what you are doing. He said, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, but actually I don't know how to say it. I don't even know what it means. But my guru told me every day I must sit here and read all 700 verses of Gita. Lord Chaitanya was so pleased that he was trying to serve his guru. Such a sense of gratitude. Why are you crying? He said, because as I'm reading, I don't understand the words, but I'm seeing Krishna, who's so beautiful. He's the master of all creation. But yet, he's humbly serving his own devotee, Arjuna, as a charioteer. Lord Chaitanya became so overwhelmed, he embraced that Brahmin and said, you are the authority of Bhagavad Gita. You understand it perfectly. So whether it's wealth or whether it's skills, Arjuna was very pleased with Bhisma beating people with his club in Kurukshetra. But Duryodhana was just as good a fighter. Bhisma actually could not defeat him. Krishna had to intervene and help him by doing something against the codes. Otherwise, Bhisma could not defeat Duryodhana. So they're both equally talented with the clubs, but Krishna's pleased with one and not the other, because Bhisma was doing it with selfless devotion to please Krishna. Similarly with Arjuna, Karna, Radheya, he was fighting Arjuna. They were face to face. And whoever won this battle was going to determine the fate of the whole war. Bhisma was already laying in the battlefield by Arjuna's arrows. By Krishna's will. And now Radheya, Arjuna could not defeat him. And somehow or other, by divine arrangement, Karna's chariot wheel got stuck. So he knew for sure, if I get off the chariot and put down my bow, Arjuna will never shoot because it's against the codes of a Kshatriya. And Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, for one who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. For Arjuna to cheat is worse than death. So he gets off his chariot, and he, with both of his hands, he's lifting the wheel. And Krishna tells Arjuna, shoot him. Arjuna didn't shoot him for any other reason except surrender. He would be forever dishonored from the perspective of Kshatriya codes. But sarva dharman parityajya, he had already heard from Krishna. Abandon all varieties of dharma and just surrender to me. Now for us, our dharmas are not so important to us. But Arjuna, his Kshatriya dharma, that was his life, his honor. But he surrendered. And as Karna, he couldn't believe Arjuna did that. And then later on, by Krishna's arrangement, Kunti tells Arjuna that actually Karna was your elder brother. Such depth of these bhavas of the loving affection and emotions of these pastimes are there. But Karna was seeing Krishna at the moment of his death. Arjuna purified him with his arrows, and Krishna manifested himself. So what is internal and what is external? When bhakti, when Krishna's mercy infuses material energy through the bhakti of a devotee, the internal energy is realized. Yayatamam prapatyante tams tataiva bhajamya. Krishna says, as you surrender unto me, I will reveal myself accordingly. Srila Prabhupada explained, if you approach Krishna, the deity, as wood or stone, Krishna will remain wood or stone for you. If you approach him to please him with devotion, with faith in our gurus and the acharyas, then Krishna reveals himself as he is. Premanjana chorita bhakti vilochanena. When our eyes have love, we see Krishna playing his flute When our eyes don't have that love, that same form of the Lord is a statue. When we chant the holy names with faith, trying to please Krishna by avoiding the offenses and trying to live with the spirit of devotion, and Krishna can reveal himself with all the glory of Shama Sundar in the spiritual world in that sound vibration. Early days of Radha Gopinath temple, we used to have kirtan for so many hours. And devotees were so happy, chanting together. And I remember after one blissful kirtan, I was walking outside and one of the neighbors, he was so angry. He was so angry. He started shouting at me. He said, "You are contaminating the neighborhood with noise pollution." It's the same name that Dwarkadish Prabhu was hearing, and he's hearing. One is smiling and dancing and feeling such happiness, and the other is suffering miserably. So according to one's devotion, Krishna reveals himself. So I'm warning you. We've actually already started. We're doing renovation of Radha Gopinath temple. And there'll be some mess, because in this world, usually before something, it's kind of like destruction happens before creation. And Lord Shiva's Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu is the greatest Vaishnav. So when there's destruction in Krishna's service, that's a great blessing, actually. So I was asked yesterday about the internal mood of Radha Gopinath temple, while externally there's so many renovations happening. And actually offering the best we can for Krishna with what we have. That's what a devotee does. Whatever resources we have, we offer it for Krishna's pleasure. And we also offer it in such a way that we fulfill Krishna's mission. Krishna comes to this world to attract people's hearts. Srila Prabhupada said, why are we building these temples? We have to raise funds, we have to make so much organization, we have to intermix with so many different situations. He said, actually, we could just chant Hare Krishna under a tree. And devotees are happy doing that. But who's going to come to hear Krishna's message? Yes, Radharas Bihari went temple when they were just a little hut. A few people were coming to see them. And now there's a beautiful temple, and there's literally millions and millions of people coming every year. So we offer the best to Krishna in such a way that we please Krishna. When pujaris are decorating Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, the bhakti is not people are going to see what a good pujari I am. We're not using Krishna to attract people to us. We're praying that Krishna uses us to attract people to him. That's what deity worship is. And actually, according to how we have that consciousness, that's how Krishna is reciprocating. The gopis, it is described that they would make themselves so beautiful as they could be. They'd put up their cosmetics. Some devotees, they don't use cosmetics because they're devotees. But gopis use cosmetics. But the difference is you're not gopis. It's a very important technicality. Because we put on so that we look nice, so that people are attracted to me. But the gopis have not even the slightest inclination for anyone to be attracted to them. They just want to give pleasure to I'm offering this body to Krishna. It should be as nice as it can be for Krishna's pleasure. So what is a trapping of the ego for some is an offering of love for gopis. And it's the same act with the same materials. So what is internal? So in the next few months, when you see construction going on here, it's not an external thing. It's using whatever resources that we have to decorate a beautiful temple for Krishna and Radharani's pleasure, and to help attract more and more people to come to receive their mercy. Why do we want people to receive their mercy? Because that's what pleases Krishna, to give his mercy. And in this way, this is why devotees are not envious. Sometimes somebody does something much better than us, and we become discouraged. Like, God, I wish he didn't do that. Krishna, why are you letting him do that and not me? But that consciousness, we don't want to be like that, but that's just our conditioning. But our intent is, Krishna, please give me the power to really be happy that this person is doing so much for you. Because if they're pleasing you, that should be my pleasure. And if I'm pleased by somebody pleasing you, that I please you. That's bhakti. Whether I do it or somebody else does it, appreciating the good works of another devotee pleases Krishna. In fact, it may please Krishna more than the person doing it. Because the other person's getting all kinds of credit. We get none. We're just appreciating. But that doesn't mean we just sit back and just appreciate everybody else. It's a very deep science. We try our very best to offer our words, our knowledge, our resources, our everything. We try to offer it all, our body, mind, soul, for Krishna's pleasure. And if Krishna's empowering somebody else to do better, I'm very happy. I'll be inspired to try harder and follow in their footsteps. But it's not with envy. Because Krishna's pleased. When the pujari is offering arti, the pujari is actually offering arti on behalf of the whole community. And if we're happy with the way he's offering arti, or she's offering arti, depending on which temple we're in, then Krishna's pleased. Krishna's pleased that we're appreciating those who are offering devotional service to him. So yes, Krishna is telling Arjuna, shoot Karna. Arjuna just fought like a very fair fight with him for so, and Karna's, you can't do this. And Krishna's chastising him. Where was your regulative principles and your dharma when Draupadi was being stripped? So Arjuna, he shot that arrow in a mood of surrender to Krishna. So Karna was purified. And Krishna manifested. The internal intent of trying to please Krishna, when it is expressed, because the intellect is a material element. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego. They're all material elements. Krishna says they are all his external energy. So when we learn scriptures, it's our material intellect that's learning. But when the knowledge is about Krishna for Krishna's pleasure, whether it's vast, like Rupa and Sanatan, or like it's that Brahman in South Indian Sri Rangam, the intellect becomes infused with the internal potency. When we offer a flower for a material purpose, it might be in the mode of goodness, or passion, or ignorance, depending on the mood in which we offer it. But when we offer the flower to Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, that flower is bhoga, which means Krishna's enjoying it. And he infuses it as prasad. And when we offer that prasad garland, it's completely different than just giving a person a flower. It's infused by Krishna's internal potency. Krishna tells in Gita, when we cook food for our own enjoyment, it's infused with karma. But when we offer Krishna that same food with devotion, it becomes prasad. It purifies us. So in this sense, each one of Arjuna's arrows was offering in surrender to Krishna. So those arrows were purifying the people. And after being purified, Krishna, out of his love for Arjuna and out of his mercy for every spirit soul who was there, he was attracting those warriors to his lotus-like face, his supreme beauty. And all they had to do was that. Whatever they did in the rest of their life, just that they appreciated Krishna's beauty at that moment, they went to Vaikuntha. Oh, Krishna, in the regular course of devotees preaching, it doesn't always happen like that. But when Krishna is personally appearing in this world, he's giving such a special mercy. And it's specially happening through his devotees' love. At Radhanath Bihari Temple in Juhu, they had these drills. I'm saying this because you're going to start hearing more drills. Drills and all kinds of noises, trucks dropping things off, and very disturbing. Srila Prabhupada, he said, that sound is like kirtan to me. And when he didn't hear it, he realized there was no progress being made. Why is there not noise? He was seeing, he was hearing, he was tasting, he was everything. What is pleasing to Krishna? So the internal mood of our chanting japa, of our hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, of our doing archana, worship for Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, everything we're doing, its essence is how we're doing it for Krishna's pleasure. And that will naturally, as we become purified and want to please Krishna, then that naturally manifests in such a way that with whatever resources we have, we're trying to offer what's most beautiful for Krishna and what will assist Krishna in attracting more and more people to come to receive his mercy. And the external enhances the internal, and the internal enhances the external. And this is a type of definition of what bhakti means. Infusing this external energy in a spirit of devotion, a spirit of seva. And then the external energy, when it becomes infused with the internal potency of the Lord, then the internal potency is manifest in the external potency, and it becomes the internal potency. Certainly others who were fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra were purified by the onslaught of Arjuna's arrows. And while seeing the lotus-like face of Krishna, so pleasing to the eyes, they achieved the abode of the Lord. Is there any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna.
I'm feeling great separation from your questions.
Maharaj, after spending years and years in devotional life, now a fear and a doubt is coming in our life. The doubt and fear is this way. But on one side, Krishna has given us the full instruction how we can come to Him in the form of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. All the instructions has been given. He has given the holy name by which we can take the shelter of the scripture and the taking the holy name. Plus, He has given us the association of devotees also. So with the help of association, with the help of the holy name, with the help of the scripture, Krishna tells us that you have to purify your life and then I will accept you out. This is the one way. Now the second thing, which when we accept it out, when we go to that process, we go seriously, try to be serious about it. A fear and the biggest problem that comes up is we cannot reach to the level which Krishna is expecting from us. Our anarthas and our shortcomings from it is so deeply rooted from millions and millions of births. And in such a short span of time, unless until that high, hardcore intensity which Krishna is expecting from us, could be that we don't have that intensity. So due to that reason, we might not be able to come to the level which Krishna is expecting, what he's speaking in the scripture, that you have to follow this way, and then I'll accept it out. So then a fear comes up that Krishna might not accept it out. So other shelter which we devotee take it is in this situation is, we try our level best to please Krishna. We maintain the highest consistency till the last breath of our life to prove Krishna that we are serious. We remain in the association of devotees till the last breath of our life. But we know it that we will not be able to overcome this shortcomings which is there in our life till the last breath of our life. So in that situation, what will Krishna decide for us? Will he be sticking to that first thing itself that no, you have to purify your life, then only I'll accept it out? Or Krishna will see our sincerity to some extent and our consistency, and Krishna will say, okay, I'll give you some concession and come back. What? This is the fear. This is the fear, Maharaj. This is the fear which we have in our life. That if Krishna doesn't accept it, for example, then we don't know how many more births will be required to become purified to the standard which Krishna is expecting from us. And if that fear is there, next birth, who knows, we'll have this association, we'll have this parampara, Kali Yuga might be extended to some extent, to so extent, whether this type of a consciousness will remain or not. Either will be purified or will be going down at next birth. So it is just in such a bit, we are in such a situation, we cannot come to the highest level. At the same time, we don't want to go away also. And everything depends on Krishna's final decision. So what Krishna will be taking the decision for us when we will be in this situation as such?
You should begin your questions by chanting Om Namo Bhagavate. Sincerity. That word you cited, that's at the heart of devotional service. We often cite Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Chaitanya Charitamrita that pure devotional service is very rare. It's the rarest thing. Because Krishna becomes subordinate to one he gives pure devotional service to. Where there's pure devotion, all the sins and all the karmas from all previous births are eradicated. It's the rarest, most beautiful of all. It's the only true eternal treasure, It's pure devotional service. And we're so undeserving. We're living in these material bodies and we're contaminated by so many conditionings of the past. But yet, if one is sincere, is serious, and is striving to serve without ulterior motives, Krishna gives that pure devotional service easily. In one sense, the qualification for all these people who died and went back to Vaikuntha in Kurukshetra was Arjuna's surrender. Arjuna was willing to go against his own will to surrender to fight for Krishna, even though it was actually very painful for him to do that. And that set the stage by which Krishna could give all these people. Otherwise, if they didn't die in the presence of Krishna, where would they have gone? Krishna preserves what we have and carry what we lack if we're sincere to surrender. So yes, Maya is very strong. Daivi yeshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Maya is so much stronger than us. And being humble and realistic, yes, who am I to go back to Godhead? Who am I to transcend all my previous conditionings and all the powers of Maya and Kali Yuga? But sincerely, earnestly, trying to Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Das Das Anudas, trying to be a servant of a servant of a servant, trying to take shelter of Krishna's names. If Krishna's pleased by our sincerity, Krishna can take us back home, back to Godhead in a moment. And He will. And that is our faith. That is why we need the association of devotees, that despite all our impurities and our conditionings and all the distractions, in the association of devotees, Vyavashayatmaka buddhir, we're really trying to be fixed and resolute in purpose, not to waste time. Krishna says, time I am. Now, in one context, time Maya means He's destroying everything and He will destroy everyone in the universal form. But it also means that every moment we have, it's Krishna's property. Yes, our abilities is Krishna's property, and our intelligence, and our resources is Krishna's property. But the most valuable property Krishna's entrusting us with is each moment, time. So if we're sincere and we're grateful for what Krishna is giving us and we're trying to reciprocate, then Krishna will be there for us. It is His promise. And that's why we need the association of devotees. Because we're giving opportunity to please and help those who are trying to serve Krishna. In the association of devotees, we not only have the opportunity to hear about Krishna, to perform Sankirtan of the holy names and glories of Krishna. We're not only given opportunity to come and worship Krishna together on the altar in the temple, but we're given the opportunity to appreciate those who are trying to serve Krishna. That's part of association. We're given the opportunity to become purified by appreciating others who are trying to serve Krishna. And if we can't appreciate each other with our faults, by appreciating another devotee's sincerity, even if they have faults, Krishna will appreciate us with our faults. So association of devotees is such a glorious opportunity every moment. And our sadhana is such an important connection with Krishna that he's given us. And our character of the way we're trying to do seva in our day. Krishna preserves what we have and carries what we lack if we're sincere. And on this subject, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, this year, Srila Prabhupada has taken him from this mortal world but his spirit, his example is very much entrusted to us, as is all the great saintly departed Vaishnavas. Some years ago, Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj came to Radha Gopinath Temple especially to inspire us for the book distribution marathon. How many were there for that class? We were discussing a few weeks ago in Pune, Radhesham Prabhu, His Grace, is here with us today. I'm so grateful and honored you have come. Last year in Pune, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj was so enthusiastic to inspire the devotees there to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, to try their very best. And being inspired by him for his pleasure, extraordinary how the devotees came together individually, collectively, on every level to break every record the temple ever did. So this year we are dedicating our book distribution during the month of December and January in honor of his life, his legacy. He actually inspired more book distribution than anyone else in the history of ISKCON, perhaps Gaudiya Vaishnavism. To perform this service together, to honor such a great soul in the legacy that he gave his heart and soul to, how much that will please Srila Prabhupada, our Paramparan, Shri Radha Gopinath. So today's class has just been an introduction for me to give this message to. If we really try earnestly, according to our capacity, there's such an abundant amount of mercy and blessings and grace that we can receive and be empowered to share with others. So it is my humble request, because I feel personally so deeply indebted to Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj for his life of devotion. And I want to share that feeling with all of you. Let us, what we 100% for sure know He would like us to do in His honor. We have a chance to do it. But there's only a couple weeks left that we can do so. Let us be very enthusiastic.